Well, Ben and I are going to be talking at the Digital Health Festival in Melbourne on the 20th of May at 12:30, and it's a session all about the patient perspective on this incredible digital revolution in healthcare. Ben, we've both received lots of treatment for cancer and we're still alive. You think the doctor-patient relationship is absolutely essential and it could be at risk as part of the digital revolution. What do you mean?
What I mean is, Julie, is that as everything's got fancier and more complicated, and we've added technology to medicine and healing, I've observed that certainly older doctors will observe this kind of loss of the doctor-patient relationship, the loss of connection. Technology's done amazing things, but it's put increasing space and gaps between us and the people we're healing. It's created a kind of disconnect, right? And I think now technology it has an opportunity now to correct that. I mean, the rapid change we've seen in AI and all the associated technologies means we can get back to that. I think there is healing in that relationship, and we have forgotten that, but patients are reminding us now in their millions that that's what matters. And when I think back to my care, I had a gold standard therapies, big randomized controlled trials proved that the chemotherapy would work, the radiation would work. I got gold standard surgeries. But it was my surgeon that changed my life, because there was a point when I was coming up to surgery and I was terrified, and I had gone to the internet and read all these horror stories and then found hope in alternative medicine. And I had a science degree, but I was contemplating refusing mainstream care. And this was pre-ChatGPT, right? So now patients would put that into ChatGPT and get advice. And sometimes that would be really dodgy, and sometimes that might point them back to the doctor. But I just said, I'm going to sit down and talk to my doctor. And I let them know, and they were really worried about where I was heading. They called a meeting. They asked my mum to come, my girlfriend to come, my nurse coordinator, which I know you're a fan of, they came, and the stoma nurse, the sexual therapist. And we got together in a room, and I was able to share my deep fear. And he acknowledged it, and they answered my questions, and they provided me with some facts it tailored to me, and I changed my mind. And I have met people in my cancer journey that didn't come back to mainstream healthcare, and they're no longer with us, right? And so that was a human that did that. It wasn't a LLM. It wasn't an app. And this stuff is so important. It's so important at keeping us grounded in the right treatments at the right time. How was your journey with digital interfaces and people? Where did you land?
The highest level of physics-based radiation therapy is why I'm alive, and I'd like to thank Marie Curie, the woman who won 2 Nobel Prizes and did so much to make radiation a healer. So I don't doubt that chemotherapy and radiation of the highest order is why I'm alive. But my doctor, Richard Gallagher, and my nurse coordinator, Susie Flynn, they were absolutely critical psychologically and spiritually, because it's a head and neck cancer patient, 33 sessions of radiation, weekly chemo. Not everybody completes their treatment. It's brutal, Ben. It does amazing side effects, short and sadly for many long term. But if I hadn't completed it and completed it efficiently, I probably wouldn't be alive. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And so one day when I was absolutely traumatized about this immobilization mask you have to wear to keep yourself utterly still, so you're immobilized by the head, I just couldn't handle it. And the nurse came in and held my hand while the radiation therapist clicked me into this and just talked to me like a child. And that enabled me to stay in the room. And I felt my doctor, Richard Gallagher, my ENT surgeon, I felt he'd do anything for me. I felt he cared about my survival as much as I did. I really do. Now, what's my evidence? About a year ago, I had a fear of recurrence. I had a little lump come up on my neck. Not a good sign if you've had head and neck cancer. And he was in contact with the doctors down here. He had a referral. Within 24 hours, he'd communicate. After one phone call to Sydney, I live in Adelaide now, he had me linked back in to the appropriate high-tech scan and survival. So why do I say I know he cared about me? That's amazing. There was no fee in that.
Yeah.
He reacted to me because we'd known each other for 5 years regularly, and he's like that with all his patients. So the doctor-patient relationship is about mental and spiritual health.
Yeah. And that was able to happen because you did have that relationship. And underneath that, coming from him was empathy, right? And I'm not aware yet of us being able to synthesize that. You can get something called cognitive empathy, where ChatGPT tells you, yes, I understand you're having problems. But the affective empathy, that emotional empathy, we can't make that yet. And I worry that we're going to continue to devalue that, right? And our examples show that all these years later, those moments of understanding, those moments of human connection are what mattered and what stays with us.
Ben, I hope some people watching this can make it to the Digital Health Festival in Melbourne on the 20th of May, 2026 at 12:30 and come for a patient perspective on the digital revolution. But you, of course, are a patient doctor. So see you then.
Bye.